Candy, Gym City hustlers, Louisville legends, Lady Street soldiers, street legends, credibles, archangels. Let's go. Ride with me and them black angels. We got Aftermath, come on, urban angels, flaming nights, Glass City angels, soul devils, immortal souls, thunder old wheels and brothers of soul. Kentucky gunslingers, made men, Sin City Titans, 4 horsemen, Bay 1 men, East Bay Dragons, in too deep, them black dragons, Lady Diamonds, Precious Gems. Who you with? Lady Jim. We got Boogie Down and them Lost Boys, Steel Horses, Bass Country Boys, Black Yankees, the Outsiders, Drifters and them Black Tigers, Juggernauts and Phantom MC, Just Us and Chrome Shell Posse, Underworld, No Love Crew, Carpe Royale and Wrecking Crew. We got Midnight Star, See Your Destiny, Asphalt Assassin, 0 to 60, Bad to the Bone, Street Runners, now when extreme them hell.
Check. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and find your seats. Okay, thank you. Okay, awesome. Thanks, y'all. Which group are you in? Tiger Bees, and right behind, too? Tiger Bees? Okay, Tiger Bees get some points. Oh, all right. Okay, y'all. I think I'm your last session for the day. That's happened a couple times, I think. But let's go ahead. This one should be a fun one. I love talking about LIT, so this will be great. So let's just lock in for the last 40 or so minutes and learn what it takes to equip LITs. So let's go ahead and start talking about the what. So hopefully in your couple of days here, you've pieced together that LIT stands for Leader in Training. These are volunteers age 13 to 18. I don't think we have any 17 or 18-year-olds. So most are 13 to 16, but technically they can be 13 to 18. They are volunteering to be here, serving as leaders. They're being trained. The fact that it says in training, they have not been trained like you. They got a total of 4 hours of training for most of them, and a lot of that was on developing their culture. So they don't know how to do everything that you're going to know how to do by the time camp starts. But they are literally paying and sacrificing to be here. They had to pay to be a part of this program. They want to be here. They want to learn. So these are honestly, a lot of them are some really remarkable young people who are just looking to grow as leaders. A lot of you went through the LIT program. A lot of you were incredible LITs and are here now. We're so thankful for you. And that leads into the why, why we have this program. We have it to pour into the next generation of camp leaders. So many of our of staff went through this LIT program, and our hope is that people go through it and they can get a taste for what it's like to be on staff and come in as staff members already having a lot of the skills equipped. It's also part of the why is you get to leave a legacy that will outlast you. It's really sweet to kind of see LITs that have grown up into counselors. For example, I know that one of Drew's LITs was Luke Collins, and Luke is now a phenomenal Conquers counselor, and that came from the hard work of both of them. So, yeah, thank you. Drew was faithful to pour into Luke when he was his LIT, and Luke was faithful to learn and to grow and to challenge himself and step out of his comfort zone. So that's part of y'all can experience that as well. You will have LITs who are going to look up to you, who are going to learn from you, and they can kind of become more staff here at camp, from your discipleship, from your leadership. It's a really amazing thing. If you haven't had the privilege to disciple anyone in your life before, this is a really amazing opportunity to get to experience that. And I think this is a pretty common thing people feel, that oftentimes you learn more when you're the teacher than when you're the student. And so that's true for Faith as well. I've grown so much more when I was pushed out of my comfort zone into being a leader for the first time. And I really hope that all of you will take this opportunity very seriously, having an LIT to pour into them as a way to kind of practice living out your own discipleship. We know, Jesus calls all of us to go and make disciples. This is one just being handed to you right here for a week. It's not even super high pressure. It's just for the week that you have them. And so it's a great opportunity. Hope you pour into it. And if you're a counselor, you're going to get to lead campers, and that's an incredible, amazing thing. But honestly, a lot more of your discipleship opportunities are going to go to your LIT. Your LIT is the one who's actively looking at you to learn. Campers, of course, are going to like benefit from your discipleship as well. But really, please don't discount your LIT. I think it can sometimes, we can get into a bad habit of thinking of them as like free labor or things like that. Like we think of them as just like people who are just here to like do the jobs we don't want. Kind of like the joke I made yesterday when I was telling Lydia that water bottle hunting is a better job for an LIT. That is true. Because that's the job that they wouldn't have needed to be trained for while y'all are here getting paid and you know how to do spiritual inventories. So that's true. But the fact is, I would hope that the Lydia in that scenario was pouring into this LIT, and the only conversation she had with this LIT wasn't to send the LIT hunting for water bottles, right? Like, I would hope that this was someone that she was investing in and pouring into. Yeah, so that's the why behind it. It really is an amazing opportunity to practice discipleship, and so I really hope for your benefit and for their benefit that you will take the opportunity. So let's go ahead and jump into the process. So the process for getting your LIT, getting and equipping your LIT is essentially a 5-step process. There's the draft, your picks in the draft, there's the risk associated with kind of how it works, equipping, which we'll spend most of our time talking about today, and then evaluations. I'm currently still working on what I want the draft to look like exactly, so I'm so sorry I don't have a picture to show y'all yet of what you can expect, but what it will be is you will be sent a list of all the LITs who are serving in the capacity that you can choose from for that week, and then you will select your top 3 to 4, and then I'll do the draft pick, and you'll get hopefully one of the LITs, at least one that you picked, but you might not. And there's a couple notes I put here. So one, don't be upset if you don't get the LIT you want if you neglected to fill out the draft. You need to fill out the draft if you want to possibly get your LIT, but honestly, there's still the risk that you won't get the LIT that you want, just based on how it works out. It will be okay. All of these kids are great. You'll be fine. Some might be hard to deal with, but you can treat them with patience and respect. They're growing. You might even meet someone that you work really well with, and now you have another option for LIT that you like for future weeks. So just be open, even if you don't get the LIT that you necessarily were hoping for. Maybe it's your friend or a sibling or someone like that. Please be open to the new LITs and just embrace this as an opportunity that God's giving you to pour into this particular kid. Kind of like what Rachel was talking about this morning, God has ordained our todays for a reason. He's given us what we're doing. He's given us our jobs, our tasks, the relationships we have for a reason. So I firmly believe that there's going to be a reason he wants you to interact with the LIT that you are given to work with for that week. If your LIT doesn't leave your cabin or track better, if you haven't trained them into how to at least do something to make your cabin or track run better than it would have without them, then I think that's a pretty good gauge that you've missed the mark a little bit on training them. At the very least, you need to have taught them how to do something to make it better with where you are. That's what they're looking to do. That's what we're hoping you are able to do as well. It's important to note that your paycheck will be withheld if you don't have your LIT evaluations done. So those are very, very important to us. These leaders, again, like I said, they are literally paying. They had to pay to be a part of this program. And so getting feedback on how they did in their week is vital to their experience, to their program. And it is a part of your responsibility as staff. So we really need you to fill out these evaluations at the end of each week. So let's go ahead and talk about those a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. So they're very simple. You'll tell us what you know. You'll place them in the following categories: ready to be on staff, will be a great staff member soon, good LIT, learning to lead with character flaws, not qualified to lead. And then you'll explain your answer for what you mean. I would say someone who does well, the baseline is learning to lead or good LIT. Kind of, and I feel those are generally dependent on age a little bit too. I want to emphasize this, if you give them a negative, what I would qualify as a negative evaluation, learning to lead with character flaws or not qualified to lead, I really need an explanation for that. Like, I really need you to take advantage of the like short comment section on the form, and I need you to explain what happened to cause you to give them this evaluation. Odds are, if that's what you're giving them, hopefully myself, Drew, or Micah would have already heard about this, like whatever it was that happened that caused you to give them this thing. But it's only fair to them, right? Because this is going to affect their LIT score. And I want to have something tangible to be able to tell them about why their score is what it is. So please, if you have an LIT that you are going to give one of these evaluation scores to, please explain why. Like, please tell me what happened and why you're giving them that score. And also, if they have a really high score, I would love to hear those stories too. I would love to explain why you think they would be ready to be on staff or would be a great staff member. That's awesome. All right, let's jump into talking about preparing your LITs. So there's a couple of things that I want to emphasize. Like, again, I think sometimes we have this bad habit of treating LITs as if they're peripheral to what's happening at camp, as if they're just picking up kind of the odd jobs around. And that is very true, that LITs are great for doing the odd jobs that like they can do without getting the formal training that you all have had. But I really want to emphasize that you should bring them into conversations about your cabin, huddle, and track. You should really like invest in them. They don't need to be a part of every single decision-making thing. They don't need to do all of that, but please just like ask their opinion about things that you want them to like have an opinion about. Bring them into that. Let them see how you and your co's work out disagreements and agreements. Let them watch you work together. Empower them in front of the campers. Please, if you are a counselor, during your first like huddle meeting or cabin orientation, please emphasize to your campers that, hey, these are your LITs and they are also in authority over you, right? Like, you need to listen to them as well. I think sometimes like campers will sometimes like walk over or feel like they can disregard what an LIT is telling them. And that is not acceptable. They're here to serve, and you need to help empower them to do that. Explain things well to them, coach them throughout the week, disciple them. These are all things that we're about to jump into. Okay, first I want to talk about clarity. Being clear is very kind to them. That is like the best thing you can do, is provide clarity to them. Again, please remember, some of these LITs are 13 years old. That's very young. It might not feel like super young to some of you who are 15 or 16, but there's a big difference between a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, right? 13 is very young. So you'll want to set clear expectations. That means explaining what they need to do in the dining hall, letting them know what their cabin cleanup role is. Hopefully, you will only need to explain it like a couple of times early in the week and then kind of help train them along the way throughout the rest of the week. Setting clear boundaries is also kind, letting them know that, yeah, you're inviting them into some of these like conversations with the counselors, but they are expected to not push back on you in front of campers. They need to, if you're going to respect them, they need to mutually respect you as well. They can't treat you disrespectfully ever, but especially no arguing with you in front of campers. Things like staying out of my snacks, get out, don't touch my stuff. Like, you could set clear boundaries with them. And then communicate really clearly. If they seem confused, give them clear instruction. A lot of them are very scared to make a mistake. I've emphasized to them in their training that it's okay to make mistakes, that we're not expecting them to be perfect at everything. But still, they're here because they want to learn and they want to do a good job. So please, like, give them clear instruction, especially if they're hesitating or seem a little confused. Maybe if they are pausing on doing something that you've told them to do, instead of just immediately assuming that they're being lazy or don't want to do it, maybe ask if they completely understand what you're asking them to do and if they need some support with it. I think that will go a really long way for them. Please stay patient with them. You will 100% have to tell them to do the same thing over and over again, but let's be so for real. How many times do we have to tell y'all to read staff stuff over and over again, or tell y'all to do your LIT evals? It happens. So please be patient with them. Let them know when you're getting frustrated. Like, be honest. Like, if they are like purposely not listening to you, that is a problem, and you can let them know, like, hey, this is getting very frustrating because I know you're mature enough to do this, and so the fact that you're not is frustrating to me. Like, talk to them like they're your peer a little bit. Like, they're trying to, like, by the fact that they signed up for this indicates that they think that they're mature enough to do this. If they're not acting like it, call them out on it. Like, please, like, call them higher. That's part of discipleship. Okay, let's get into it a little bit more specifically, how to equip LITs. There's a lot of things to cover. There's like the technical side of it with training. There's the spiritual aspect that I've been alluding to. There's character development. And then, of course, there is like the correcting conversations that you're going to have with them. So let's just go ahead and like jump into this really quick. So for spiritually, this one I think is going to feel probably the most rewarding to you, especially if you have an LIT who is looking up to you and genuinely is like trying to like respect and learn from you, like I hope all of them will. I encourage you to share your story and ask for theirs. Don't pressure or push if they don't want to. Even if they give you a very like vague like testimony or story, like thank them for it. Like encourage any little act of like stepping out in faith for them. And I encourage you to lead with vulnerability. That is the best way to like it can sometimes feel a little risky, but I encourage you to be the first to kind of share your testimony and share your story with them. Talk to them about the gospel, ask them questions. Everything you learned in the gospel immersion lecture today would be great to like start conversations with them as well. I want to talk about porch times is like a great time to do that. Their curfew currently is 11 o'clock. They might, if they are good, later on in the summer, I might let them stay up till 11:30, but for now, they haven't earned that, so they get 11 o'clock. But their porch times, they get their phone from 10:45 to 11. If they're a counselor, if they're overnight, I should specify. So if you are an overnight counselor and you have LITs in your cabin, I encourage you to take advantage of this time that they have in between their jobs and before they go to bed to just require some time on the porch to like talk to them for just 15 minutes. Just pour into them, let them be a part of your conversation with your co's and ask them questions about their day, build them up, train them. Drew and Micah are excellent about this. I highly encourage you, if you're looking for just tips on how to do this well, I really encourage you to reach out to one or both of them to hear how they've done this in the past. And this is also applicable to program staff. It might not be at this exact time. Maybe you'll have a break that you're able to do it with them. But I encourage you to do the same thing. Day camp, it's a little bit more difficult because your schedule is very tight. You have a very, very tight schedule. And there's really not a great time, I'll be honest, for y'all to do it. But you can do it on the way. You can do it in transitions. You can do it while you're both supervising in the same area. There are opportunities, and I just encourage you to make the most of them. Even if that's like a short conversation, just a short one, just checking in about their day, letting them know you care about them. That goes a really long way for LITs. I encourage you, if this is something that works for you, works for them, I encourage you to encourage them to like get up and do quiet time with you, like maybe sit out on the porch in the morning and just both sit there quietly. I think just seeing your example and being faithful to get in the Word will mean a lot to them. And start and end your day with prayer. Very simple. Like I encourage you, whether you're day camp, program staff, or overnight counselor, to like please do that. And it doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out thing. Just pray together really quickly as you begin and end your day. Hopefully as a team. I hope your whole group can do that together. I think that is just setting a really good example, especially if you encourage them to pray as well. Like a lot of people feel awkward praying out loud, but if you encourage them each day, not pressuring them, but just encourage them to do that, I think that's an amazing next step for them. All right, to jump into some of the technical stuff, so camp's expectation for staff. You're training them to be a staff member, essentially. Like our hope is that an LIT could be here for a summer, and by the end of the summer, they could essentially be a staff member. Like that's incredible. That's the ideal situation. They are capable. They are capable people. A 13-year-old is fully capable of doing the jobs that we're asking them to do as an LIT. So treat them that way. Don't baby them. Don't infantilize them. Don't talk down to them. Don't be condescending. Don't be too like, how do I phrase this? The way I wanted to say it was like too nice. That's not right though. Don't be too like, if an LIT starts complaining about something being too hard, don't be too quick to empathize. Like literally, like seriously, like care for them well, ask them why that is, but call them up. Like help them problem solve, help them walk through this, but don't immediately just like take the job from them because you think they can't do it. Instead, talk to them and work with them to kind of figure out a solution. Meet them where they are, be patient, learn their needs, love them the way you were or wanted to be loved in your lack. So whether you were in LIT or not, we all can remember what it was like to be in middle school or early high school. It's a difficult time in your life, and you're just looking for people to like help you. You're looking for help without trying to ask for help. You know, that's at least how I was. It's how a lot of my friends were. So please just love them the way that you wish someone had done or the way someone did do for you. All right, let's talk about character development. We're looking for a lot of the same things that we expect from y'all, and you can help build this into them. Again, we're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for growth in these areas. So leadership, professionalism, and maturity. So that means especially like, I'm sorry to have to single out girls on this, but the female LITs have a problem with dress code, and it's a little awkward when it has to be me or one of the other full-time staff going up to them to tell them to change when y'all were the ones who saw them first, okay? So please be aware and please be leading in this too. Help them to remain professional, okay? Behaving maturely. So that means like we were talking about earlier, like no gossiping, no like acting immature. We're called to something better here. So you can call them up into that. Having a solid work ethic, integrity and honesty. If you suspect your LIT is lying to you, call them out on it. Tell them like, I don't know if I believe you, and here's why. Like, hold them to it. Don't just accept with lies. You know, don't let them skate by without somebody at least giving them the chance to change it. You know, responsibility, and the way they grow in responsibility is by being given responsibility. So please don't, like a lot of LITs have talked about, like sometimes. They'll get here and they want to help, and then their counselor won't like let them do anything. Like they won't trust them with anything. So please trust them with some responsibility. Give them some kind of job. Let them lead cheers. Teach them how to do these things. They're here to learn and they want to do that. Discretion and appropriateness. So if your LIT says something, like maybe starts a conversation with campers that you think is like, that probably wasn't right. Like say they start talking about politics or something. You can stop it gently, and then you can pull the LIT aside and explain why we're not doing that. Because again, they haven't gone through the training that y'all have, so they may not know exactly what is appropriate, what's not. They're also very young, so help coach them in that. Don't just assume, you know, malice or, you know, bad intention necessarily when it could just be not knowing, you know. So just give them the benefit of the doubt, please. We want to encourage them to be a self-starter. We want to encourage them to have a competitive drive. If you see an LIT sitting out of a game, we don't want campers to do that. We don't let that happen. Encourage them to get involved and encourage them to like be competitive for their cabin, not necessarily for the win, but be competitive just for the sake of like helping the campers have a good time. Always bring it back to like caring for others. Teaching them to have respect for authority. Being courteous, being kind, so you can teach them how to greet parents well. You can teach them how to greet staff members well. Being mentally strong. We just had a lecture today on mental toughness. You can teach them some of those same principles as well, and helping them to avoid gossip and drama. I love the LIT program so much, but there can be drama. So please help them in avoiding that. As much as you possibly can. This leads pretty well into correcting LITs, how to correct them. So if you were in day camp, you had a lecture on like day camp discipline, you had one on overnight discipline, and then you also had the session on our staff development process. This LITs is kind of a strange morph of both of those things. So let me explain what that's going to look like. One, as far as your posture in correcting LITs, you correct from relationship. If you haven't tried to invest in this LIT, if you haven't given them the benefit of the doubt, if you haven't like tried to empower them well, when you go to correct them on something and that's the only real interaction they have with you is you telling them to do stuff and then correcting them, they're far less likely to respect you and they're far less likely to take your correction well. So you're not really accomplishing much of anything. So please try to build a good rapport with them, good relationship with them so that they can accept your correction. Think of corrections as coaching opportunities. This sort of is where I'm kind of pulling from like the teachable moment idea. Don't think of this as just like, oh, they're bad at this, I better get them to fix this. No, like, again, they're here to learn. It's in part of they're in training. It's part of their title. So think of corrections as an opportunity to like call them into more, to step into something better. Think of it, don't think of it as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to pour into this person that God has you interacting with. If a correction is something about just like how to do something well, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about like attitude and active like rule breaking problems when I'm talking about this type of correction. If you have to have that kind of correcting conversation with your LIT counselors, you will note corrections on your discipline sheet. So just to make it simple, you'll just write their name in the same places like camper name, and you can put LIT in parentheses next to it and write the conversations that you had. If you're a program staff, if you have to correct your LIT, please just take a note on your phone for it. To specify though, you do not give any consequences. You don't discipline them. You only have conversations with LITs, okay? You don't say, well, you're not allowed to help in the dining hall. You have to go sit in this corner now because you were bad. No, we're not doing that. Can you imagine what the campers would? No. You don't give consequences to LITs. You only have conversations with them. If an LIT does not adjust after corrections, immediately, like after maybe like 1 or 2 conversations with them about that, you need to walk for Drew, Micah, or myself, whoever's available. And we'll come and have another conversation with them. And if they don't fix it after that conversation, they're going home. Because they're not, I've explained this to them, that they will not be a detriment to the campers. I love them. I want to serve them. I want them to like grow and develop. But if they are a detriment to campers, and by pulling full-time staff, by pulling your attention away from campers, they are being a detriment. And so, if they haven't adjusted after 2 conversations with you and 1 conversation with a full-time staff, odds are they're going to need to go home, at least for the day, maybe for the week, because I'm just not going to let that happen for the campers or for y'all, okay? Here's some things on what to correct. You can correct bad attitudes. So if you have an LIT who just is negative all the time, who isn't like reacting well, who isn't being called into like the attitude we need to have here at camp, you can correct that. Talking back to you, like mumbling under their breath when you tell them to do something, saying something rude to you, correct it. They can't be treating you like that. Not listening, being lazy, being mean to campers, being annoying. Like literally, you can correct all of these things because we're calling them to something better. Being a detriment to campers, like I said. These are all the things that you are free to correct. And again, do so kindly. Do it from a coaching thing. You know, if you have an LIT who's like talking back to you, pull them aside and say, hey, why do you think it's appropriate to talk to me like that? Literally, like, ask them. And who knows, maybe that's like the norm in their family. Maybe their family doesn't know how to like handle conflict well. And so everyone in their family just kind of mumbles under their breath when they're upset. And so maybe that's all this 13-year-old knows how to do. You can tell them like, hey, that's not how we're going to handle this here. Instead, I want you to communicate like this. Like it's a coaching opportunity. So ask questions. Don't, as much as it might be frustrating, but please give them the benefit of the doubt as much as you can. And maybe I should clarify for annoying, you're smart. You know what I mean by annoying. I don't mean that they talk about Minecraft too much. Like that's fine, but if they're like constantly like coming up to you being like, just pulling your attention from campers just to like talk to you about nothing, like just trying to get your attention all the time, correct them on that. And here's how to correct. Again, we've kind of talked about this. Sometimes they just need a minute. Sometimes if they're feeling frustrated, like make them step away from whatever situation is causing them to overreact. You need to avoid overreaction, so don't feed into the drama. Just pull them aside, be like, hey, I think you need to take a break for a second. How about you go wait here, and then we'll have a conversation about it. Have a one-on-one conversation. Again, don't humiliate them in front of the campers. As soon as the campers sense that you don't respect this LIT, they're not going to respect the LIT. So give them the dignity of having a one-on-one conversation just like you would for a camper. Don't try to intimidate them. Don't try to like bully them into anything. If they're not acting like a mature 13, 14, 15-year-old, then they don't need to be here. They're pulling from campers. So you don't need to try to like prove anything to them. Have a conversation. If it doesn't work, have another. If it doesn't work, walkie for Drew, Micah, or myself. If that doesn't work, they're gone. So simple as that. You don't need to stress. Yeah, that's essentially the system we're going to have here. Some final notes on some things. If we set LITs up well, if you take advantage of that first day, you shouldn't have to send them to me. Odds are, like, if you explain things well, if you're coaching them well, I really shouldn't have to, like, deal with them. And again, I'm not going to think less of you if I do have to, because, I mean, sure, odds are there's some crazy people who slip through in this program. Who knows? Most of them are awesome, I think. But if we set them up well, you shouldn't have to send them to me. Sending home is an extremely last resort, okay? Like, I really don't want to do that, okay? I want them to be here. I want them to thrive. I want them to learn and grow. And I'm going to be completely honest, like, you being frustrated with them is not a good reason for me to send them home. So if you're just annoyed by them, or if you are just, like, frustrated with them for a reason that isn't detrimental to the campers, maybe it is they're just talking about Minecraft too much and you have a vendetta against Minecraft. I don't know. But, like, I'm not sending them home because you're frustrated. This is part of why we pay you, is to disciple the LITs, to care for them well. I will send them home if they're being a detriment to campers. So that's kind of my line there. I love you all. I care for you all. I want you to have a great time too. Discipleship is hard. Discipleship can be difficult sometimes. It can be frustrating. You have no idea how difficult it can be to be, like, discipling someone and their response to everything you're saying is, I know. And it's like, you don't, though. You really don't know anything that I'm telling you. But that's part of it, okay? Like, that is part of it. And I trust that you're going to have some amazing opportunities to, like, grow in your faith. Like, please rely on Jesus with this. Like, pray, ask him what to do. Ask him how to care for these LITs well. Yeah, and I trust it's going to be a good summer. I've been able to meet some of the LITs we had an LIT retreat, and it was so much fun. There's some really, really awesome kids who are going to be here. Just, like, phenomenal. Like, I was talking to one of them, and I legit was a little confused. I kind of thought she was, like, maybe the lone 18-year-old who slipped into the program somehow, because she was so mature and how she was talking, and she was, like, 14. Like, there's some very cool people who are going to be here as LITs, and I'm excited for you to get to meet them. We've got a couple more minutes, so it's a very, like, there's a lot, kind of like camper discipline, there's a lot of scenarios I can come up with LITs, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. So, does anyone have any questions about LIT, the program, or caring for them? Yes, Weston. That is a great question. So what does it look like if your LIT has meds or a disability of some kind or something like that? LITs are going to go through the same medical process as campers, and so you'll need to care for them in kind of a similar way with that. So they're going to go to the infirmary and get their meds there and all that too. So, yeah. And then as far as, like, what do you mean by, like, disability in particular? Yeah, so to be a part of the LIT program, they have had to sign off on that they're able to do the jobs that we need them to be able to do. So I think if there's any kind of, like, needs that they have, but they're still able to do the job, like if their parent or guardian communicates it on their forms, the FAPs will be taking care of them and then also will communicate with you whatever it is you might need to know. So, and support you along the way with that too. But I don't believe there's any... Last time I looked through all of the applications, I don't believe there's any LITs who have anything that we would need to inform anyone about, but yeah, that's how we would handle it. So, any other questions? Yes, Tim. Okay, great. So you're asking, like, when you see, like, the draft, like, will you get any information about the LIT? That is a great question. You will be able to see the LIT's name and their LIT score. That's all the information you'll be able to see. A lot of the names you'll probably recognize. Like, you might recognize them as people who were campers here, or you might recognize them as just LITs you've seen around. But yeah, LIT and their score. So that's all the information you'll get. Yeah. That is a great question. So in high school weeks, there are no LITs in the overnight cabins. So there are only, the overnight cabins for high school week only have counselors. LITs during high school weeks can be PSITs, so program staff and training, and of course they'll still be at day camp. So you will never have a situation where you have an LIT younger than the people that they're leading in the cabin, if that makes sense. So, any other questions? Yes. That is a great question. So I did not go over the ladder of expectations as a whole with them. We talked about safety standards, so they have a good understanding of that. And I talked about exactly what I talked about with y'all with correcting them. And I talked about how if they are a detriment to campers, like, they will go home. So they are clear on that standard. They know that. Yeah, we mostly only had the time to talk about like LIT culture, because that can kind of make or break the program for a lot of them. And we talked about safety a lot. So they know those two things coming into it. They still probably need some training and some coaching along the way with that. Any other questions? Yes, Catherine. Yes, that's a great question. There are alternate LITs. And so as soon as you know that your LIT is going to be out, please let me know, and I will go ahead and get to work getting you an alternate too. So yes, absolutely. Okay, I'll take 2 more questions. We'll wrap up. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, Nathan.
How does it work, like, as far as the LIT supervising the kids? How much freedom do they have in that realm?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how much freedom does an LIT have with supervising the kids? They have, like, supervising is one of the things that they can really help you with. There needs to be, in general, there needs to be staff members within the vicinity. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same staff members from their cabin or huddle all the time. So LITs can walk like a group of campers, like from one place to another with just the LIT. Under some circumstances, they can do that. But in general, there needs to be other staff members like in the same vicinity as them. But they can help, like, especially during like snack shack times, they can help take a section to watch. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there anything we should do about it if we learn that an LIT knows the staff code?
If you learn, okay, anything to do if you learn that an LIT knows the staff code. Yeah, text me if someone knows that. And I'll check with Zach to see if there's anything he wants to do with it. If your LIT is like talking about knowing it or things like that, tell them that they need to only use the LIT code, that they are not allowed to use the staff code even if they know it. And yeah, make sure they're not sharing it with other people. But definitely like communicate that with me via GroupMe or text, and I'll check in with Zach to see what he would like to do about that. It's a good question. All right, if y'all have any other questions about LITs or anything like that as the weeks go on, you're thinking about it, please come find me or Drew or Micah. We would be happy to help answer those questions for you. I trust you're all going to do an amazing job. I'm really excited for the LITs to get to be discipled by you. And I think Joel has something that he would like to share. So, thanks, y'all.